Okay, guys, good morning. I've decided to do a demonstration. I've been noticing progress being made on student self-portraits the last week and a half, and I am feeling like progress could be better. And in lieu of me being able to teach each and every one of you every mark that you make on your paper, which I cannot do simply because of time, what I decided to do is to do a demonstration, actually two demonstrations on drawing the face using the mirror. And so you can see down here what I have. I have our self-portrait proportion guide that we've been working with. And I have a sketch that I've already started sketching out using the guide. I think we can all agree that this does not look like me yet, but we're going to fix that. And so that's what this video is about. So this is going to be video one. And in video one, I'm going to just work on the facial features using the mirror, trying to make a likeness. I've got some sketches here already that I was doing this with yesterday. So here's one. You can see that there's no shading here yet. It's just working on the features and trying to represent my face. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this one. I'm going to take this aside. Before I put this aside, though, you may notice that I've made some diagrams of the different facial features. I will go through these at some point, and I'm hoping to make you copies of these at a later time to give to you so that you have these diagrams and you can put them in your sketchbook. That's where they're going to go in mine. Okay, so now I'm going to take you on a quick tour of what I have here to do this drawing. So I've got obviously my sketch that I've already started right here. I've got an eraser. I've got a regular number 2 pencil with an eraser on the end as well, and I've got a 6B pencil. 6B pencils are really good for shading because the lead is very soft and dark. Soft means that you can spread it a lot easier than a harder lead. Harder lead's going to tend to stay where it is. So if we were going to compare these two pencils, the yellow pencil is going to be good for sketching out the edges or the contours of things. So that's what I'm mostly going to be doing in part one. And the 6B pencil is going to be good for adding shade and value, which is what I'm going to do in part two. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to take you with me just for a moment so you can see what I'm working with here. So let me take you off of here. So obviously here is my iPad, and you can see my drawing, and my iPad is recording, and also you can see that I've got the mirror so that I set up so that I can look in the mirror and study my face very carefully, and that's going to be what allows me to get the information I need with my eyes. That's what drawing from observation is, to change the features here. Okay, so I'm going to put you back up here. Background should disappear. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the eyes, and I'm just going to look at my eyes and basically taking this sketch and trying to draw what I see. And I'm going to be taking away things and adding things. That's part of what drawing is it's kind of a feel process. You want to feel out. I don't need these guidelines anymore because I already know where the eye is supposed to be, so I can get rid of those. But back to what I was saying. You want to feel out as you go, making light sketching lines and making little corrections, redrawing things, erasing, redrawing, so that you can try to get it to look like you. And, you know, this process might take a little while. Okay, so there's a curve here. This area is called the tear duct. Right here, this little area, there's a curve there. Okay, I'm probably going to stop talking now so that I can focus on drawing. So basically I keep going back to the mirror, referring to what I see there, and trying to make marks that represent what I see in the mirror on my paper. Okay. Moving on to the other eye. So look at the difference here between the two eyes. This is my sketched out eye just from the proportion grid, and this is now my eye that I've worked on. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Your initial sketch that you use with the proportion grid there might be some little things that are off. You might have to, fudge things just a little bit to make it the drawing look more like you. That's okay. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to care if your point, which was over here, is now over here for your pupil. Nobody's going to care. People are going to care more about the accuracy of your drawing, meaning, did you achieve a likeness? Does it look like you? That's what we mean when we say likeness. Does it look like you? That's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the eyes later, especially when I shade, and a lot of what I do with the shading is going to help me to take these eyes, which are they're better than they were, but they're still not quite perfect, and the shading is going to be what allows me to make it even more look like me, because it's not just the shapes of the eyes that are here, it's also the bone from my brow around it and how it's casting a shadow around my eyes, and also my cheekbones, and also the bridge of my nose, all of this stuff here. And the only way I can draw that is not with lines, it's with shading and value. So that again will be in part 2. There's also shadows being traced, or shadows being cast around the inside part of the eye. If you look at your eye, especially in the corners, it's not super dark. Okay, now the nose. Noses are tricky, and there's actually parts to the nose. There is the brow, which is the top up here, this part. That comes down to the bridge. Then you have the tip of your nose, the part that sticks out the farthest. And then you have the flaps of the skin around the nostrils and the nostrils themselves. And then this piece, which I can't remember what this piece is called. And then you have a little divot right here. That's called the philtrum. And this philtrum actually is a good reference for how much distance is between the nose and the mouth. So now I'm going to do the same thing I did with my eyes with my nose. And right now, like I said, this is just a contour drawing. I'm not adding any value or shading. Contour is just drawing the edges of things. And the best way to draw the edges of things is to look at a reference, in this case the mirror, and try to get them as close to what you see. Now I'm sketching my philtrum here, but I can't really see it because it's covered by a mustache, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment, but I'm just putting it there just more to estimate how far away my nose is, how high above my nose is from my mouth. Okay, now the bridge of the nose part of the reason that the nose is so tricky is because the bridge of the nose, we draw it with these two lines here, but the bridge of the nose is more accurately represented by the shadows being cast. So on one side there might be a shadow here, and on the other side there might be a shadow here, and those two shadows may not be exactly the same. There's also these lines here coming from the side of your nose. Those are called your smile lines. They're just little folds in the mask of your face, the skin. There might also be a highlight on the nose and a little bit more of a shadow on the nose. We'll get more into that when we do shading, but I'm just making some preliminary these are kind of like little notes for things that I'm going to work on more later. And that's always good to do, is to be thinking about how you're going to continue working on a drawing, where you left off. Okay, so now down to the mouth. Now, I have a problem with my mouth, and that is that I can't see all of it. It's covered up by facial hair. So the upper lip, I'm going to sketch it out, which I already have done. And mouths are more generic than noses and eyes, but they're still, even though they're more generic, lips are still shaped differently from person to person. So you need to, try to pay attention to that. And for the diagram of the mouth, and I know I skipped over the diagram of the eye, we'll come back to that when we do shading. We've got your upper lip, we've got your bottom lip, we've got the part where the two lips meet. Some people have corner folds. I actually have those, but you can't see them because my mustache covers that up. And so there it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show the contours of my mustache because it's right in here. So just like I would draw the contours of a facial feature, well, it's facial hair, so it's a facial feature. So my mustache kind of goes like this, and it's a little bit wider than my mouth. And I'm not going to start drawing the hairs or anything like that. And then the bottom part of it just kind of sweeps across my upper lip like this. I can still see my upper lip, but only a part of it, not the whole thing. So there would be the bottom of my mustache, and I can make little notes of how it's made of hair just to remind me of what that part is of my drawing. Sometimes a line, just a line by itself, might be a little vague. So that's mustache all in there. Won't be able to see my philtrum. And it comes down over the corners of my mouth down here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for my beard. I'm going to draw the edges of my beard like I did for the mustache. Now, the interesting thing is, right here, if you can see, that's where my chin ends. So my beard actually comes down quite a bit farther. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that. My beard actually makes my face longer than it is. That's why dudes look so weird when they shave their beards off, is because it's like they shorten their face, because you're used to seeing them with that beard, which makes them look like their face is actually longer. I think that's also what makes beards look nice. Of course, I'm the only one in this class that has a beard, so you shouldn't be drawing one, but for the purposes of this demonstration, it's necessary to talk about how to draw one, because I'm drawing one. Okay. So this needs to be wider on this side. My beard also covers up part of my ears. If you look here, you can only see just a little bit of the edge of my ear. You can't see the whole ear. If I shaved my beard off, you'd be able to see a lot more of it. This line here I'm changing, and this line here I'm changing because my cheek bone sticks out a little bit right there, so I need a little bit more of a curve right in here. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit more like me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for my hairline. The inner line goes like this, and then the outer line is how far my hair sticks out from my skull. So this curve here represents the edges of my skull, really. I know that's weird, but that's what it is. Now, hairlines are interesting because they're different from person to person, and they also differ in a general way by gender. Notice I say general way because not everybody's different. So general means if we're broadly speaking about boys or girls, in this case, because we're talking about gender. But of course, once you get past the general, then there's the specific, the individual person. Okay, so there's the inner hairline. Now, a boy, his inner hairline has more angles to it, usually, and some people even have a point right here. That's called a widow's peak. I don't have that. I have a more of a flat hairline. It's kind of curvy right in here. And then this area here, which is called your temples, generally there's a little area of the hairline that juts out right in here. Girls would be more round. This would be more round. But like I said, that's only generally. Now the outside edge of my hair, I need to look at the relationship of how far it sticks out from past my ears. Now, I have my hair sort of like combed back and stuff, so it's not sticking out very far. But your hair might stick out much farther. It depends on how long your hair is, how poofy your hair is, how curly your hair is, all those kinds of things. So on the top, my hair sticks out a little bit. On the sides, not so much, because like I said, I have it kind of slicked back today. So it's kind of like this. Notice I added, just like the beard, I added no texture, no lines, nothing. All I'm worried about right now is the contours, the edges of things. That's a contour drawing. Now, in part 2, which I'm going to start in just a moment here, you're going to see that I'm going to work with texture and I'm going to work with value. But that video you will have to watch next time because we don't have enough time to watch both. So stay tuned for that. Part 2 coming soon.